Hi, it's Kylie Mort, aka Mum, reporting live on our adventures as we journey on site and online around Australia. Now, grab your attention. What do you do when you roll into a town you've never heard of and it turns out the timing couldn't be better? Let me tell you, we arrived in Lawrence with no idea what to expect, and there you go, the return of the Cane Festival. What's it all about? We had no idea, but would soon find out. So, there was always going to be a couple of stops as we travelled up this first coast, and one of them was Lawrence. Now, not only did we have no idea where Lawrence was, but we also didn't know exactly what we'd be seeing there, other than some good mates who had just had a bit of an incident with what wasn't a cyclone and what wasn't allowed to be called Anthony. And sometimes things just work out. It so happened that as we dawdled along the coast, we arrived at just the right time. It was the weekend of the Cane Festival. Not just any festival, but the 100-year celebration, the first after a long break. And as the town of Lawrence kicked off their party wagon for the 100-year anniversary, we rocked in. It promised to have it all, including Troy Cassar-Daley. Now, for some of you, you might not recognize his name. He's not exactly a country singer that Generation Z and Alpha would be able to identify. But trust me, he was the soundtrack to many of our young hooligans in Utes years. We arrived to a perfectly mown patch of lawn right next to the machinery shed, set up, and got ready to enjoy a gorgeous sunset over the cane fields, backed by the Clarence River. The kids were absolutely thrilled to move in with another family of 4 kids for a few days. And Bingley, well, she got the joy, yes, the joy, of moving in with 5 other dogs, including a long-haired miniature doxie. That was a fun time for her. Now, we would have gotten more sunrise photos of the river, but guess what? It rained and rained and rained. And it even rained during the Harvest Festival. But amazingly, it held off just enough for the actual parade. The rest of the day, yep, you guessed it, raining, but not the parade, thank goodness. There was also that day where it wasn't raining enough to stop the boys riding. Needless to say, Tom nearly killed Scott, who spends a lot more time on a horse than playing with actual horsepower. This became clear as beers were cracked and a discarded motorbike was pieced together that first night. The walking opportunities weren't huge from this farm, but as you can see, I did get a few photos showing how the Cyclone Alfred event had destroyed crops, fences, and roads in the area. But Rach and Scott also still had some strong and healthy sugarcane fields, and we learned plenty about the different varieties during our stay. Even though some days might have been a bit wet, the nights were beautiful, and guess what? Busy and loud. Curfews, bedtimes, gone. The alarm clock was shut off as our circadian rhythms went completely haywire. There were motorbikes, push bikes, skateboards, and scooters. There were dogs, drinks, homemade pizzas, and deep-fried goodness nights. If you know, you know. There were war wounds, accidents, grazes, good times, and of course, quite a bit of work done in Mum's office too. And there were firsts. Dad's first booked appointment to give blood, and Mum's first time driving onto a ferry. He only lets me drive when he has to, by the way. We also had a visit from our darling Donzie for a very special wedding anniversary, and another important person sent us a heavenly sign. Cheers, legend. And did I tell you there was mud? There was so much mud. Now let's talk about the Cane Festival. Some pretty nice trucks and machinery on display in the parade. Lane School Cattle Club was in the parade and running a stall. Kenzie was even called in to help, including balancing the till at the end of the day. Homeschooling wins. And then there was spending time in a few different pubs, of course. Dancing and drinks with live music. And of course, we headed home to Tom's homemade pizza. Family ratings, preteen boy, 8 out of 10. Teen girl, 9 out of 10. Dad, 8 out of 10. Mum, we had an absolute blast. But could we live this way? Late nights, partying, and no beach? Probably not a healthy option. It was here for a good time, not a long time. See you on the next lap, guys. Have you got some great tips for us or places you'd recommend? Follow us on site and online around Australia on Facebook for all the photos, or Instagram for the TLDR version, or subscribe to YouTube to get the notifications. Alternatively, did you want to hear all the juicy gossip about what can and does go wrong with expensive custom-built caravans? I've got the scoop. Contact me directly. We have plenty of time to share all we know as we wander along. Because to be honest, regardless of the very questionable purchases, ratings, and all that stuff, we are really just living the dream.